Today, the First Minister branded the UK government's plan to block migrants from claiming asylum utterly shameful and immoral. Under Rishi Sunak's plan, people arriving on small boats from mainland Europe would be quickly removed from the UK and blocked from returning or getting British citizenship in the future. The number of migrants making the dangerous journey across the Channel has soared from around 300 in 2018 to more than 45,000 last year.
These are the countries they're coming from. According to recent data from the Migration Observatory, for the moment at least, Albania is at the top of that list. They're still only a small part of overall migration to the UK, though. Per capita, the UK takes far fewer migrants than most other European countries.
The UK government say the number of people arriving is overwhelming the system. So why do many people leaving their homes in Albania hope to start a new life in Britain? Andreas Wolff from BBC Scotland's Eòrpa team travelled there to find out.
Earlier this week, the UK government introduced a bill to the House of Commons which would ban illegal immigrants from applying for asylum or from ever entering the country again. Last year, the large majority of them were Albanian.
In 2020, 50 Albanians arrived on small boats in the UK across the English Channel. Last year, that number rose sharply to over 12,000 arrivals. I'm here in Albania to find out why.
Kukës is a small town in northeastern Albania. It's the poorest municipality in the country with a long history of immigration. Bjordi has tried 4 times to reach the UK illegally. He asked us to be anonymous.
The
most difficult part was what we suffered there. Sleeping in tents by the roadside, taking a rubber boat, staying in the mountains without lights or cigarettes. It was freezing because there was a cold wind.
All of Bjordi's high school mates have gone to look for a better life elsewhere. Leaving Kukës isn't illegal, but the mayor is getting involved.
We want to stop illegal migration. We're going after the illegal networks which spread false information to those who lack the knowledge about what happens to them when they reach England. When you're going to London, it's not all going to be as easy and guaranteed as the criminal organisations are telling people.
This false information is spread on social media, where traffickers paint a rosy picture of people who have made the journey in the past. I met up with one young man who arrived in the UK in the back of a lorry. He applied for asylum, and despite it being illegal, he worked while waiting for a decision.
I
personally didn't do anything bad. I was mostly using the black market, cleaning cars and washing plates in restaurants because I knew people there. Our pay was very low.
After a 2-year wait, his application was rejected and he was sent back to Albania. He still hasn't paid back his debts from his trip in 2014. Emigration now has an effect on all aspects of life in Kukës, and that includes the mosque. The Muslim religion is an important part of society here.
Here in the mosque, 2 lines of people who used to come to pray were gone. We were suffering the impact of emigration, not only in an economic, but also in a social sense.
The average monthly income in Kukës is £240, whereas in the UK it is almost £1,600. To get a better understanding of why the country is in this situation, it is helpful to look at history. Under the dictatorship of Enver Hoxha, the country's borders were completely closed even inside the Eastern Bloc. After the end of communism in the early 90s, people started to emigrate.
The main reason is that we don't have a history of good governance. This was a problem during the 40s, during the Hoxha era, and from the 90s onwards as well. This happens despite Albanians being clever people. When they're in government, they use this cleverness to become richer for bad things. You know they went to Europe, and now they control the cocaine and heroin network.
The government wouldn't give us an interview. But in a statement, they referred to a report by the European Commission which found that there were tangible results in the fight against organised crime and that the judicial reform had progressed in a sustainable manner. They also claimed to have effectively ended corruption, as all services can now be accessed online. But hopelessness still drives people to leave the country, and some are sadly trafficked. In some areas, social services are better than in others, but many people also rely on charities for help, such as a children's NGO.
Most of the children who arrive in the UK have been trafficked on the journey. And once they get there, they're used for trafficking reasons in the UK. When I say they've been used, I mean on the black market, in illegal jobs. Without a doubt, there's prostitution, especially for young girls. And young boys would work in illegal jobs, slavery style, or drug distribution.
The NGO conducted a survey among young people, and the results were surprising.
It showed that 80% of respondents wanted to leave the country because they were without hope.
But there are examples of private business initiatives, for example in agro-tourism, which encourage people to stay.
I was brought up with one piece of bread every other day sometimes, but my daughter has a better life now. Children nowadays don't lack essential things or food. They have food, warm houses, internet and everything else.
I now have tears of joy in my eyes, but I think of the past, and it was a very difficult life.
People are leaving Albania to look for a better life, but most of them would much prefer to find opportunities at home. Andreas Wolff, BBC News, Albania.
And if you want to see more of Andreas's investigation, you can watch Eòrpa on the BBC iPlayer.